Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn Mullarney, also known as the Unique Connector. So I'm so excited today because I have Miss Determined to Succeed. She was awarded this award over 20 years ago. So I'm so excited to have Karen join me today. So let's talk about, how did you get that award, Karen?
Yes, so 20 years ago, I was actually part of a parenting course because, yes, I had a baby when I was 16. So I was in this program where they kind of taught us about navigating being a parent, being a teen parent, and being in school. So, yes, I still hold on to that certificate. I was awarded. So I am officially a determined to succeed recipient.
Ooh, I love it so much. And this is where too, I know you kind of have an interesting, path and journey in life, and you never give up. And so this is where kind of I would love for you to even kind of talk about a little bit of your path of, having a baby at 16. That's a lot, but also too, you kind of had an interesting childhood growing up.
I did. So I was actually I was born in Cali, Colombia. I was born in La Miseria. That my mom's reminds me that, we weren't poor, we lived in misery. So we didn't have any running water, or electricity, or indoor bathroom. And from there, we obviously struggled a lot as a child. And by the time I was 10 years old, my mom decided that, I had the opportunity to come to the US and live here with my dad. So she said, okay, go ahead. It was time. And I think that's where I learned the skill from her was things might get tough, but you have to make hard decisions and we'll get through it. And so I didn't know when I was going to see her again, but I came to the US, lived with my dad, he had his own struggles. And we were sometimes, and this is when I say I came to the US and I upgraded to poverty. And because you only understand if you've been through these other situations of not having running water, of not having a bathroom, and to come here and then experience poverty, as they call it in the US, is very different. And so I felt like it was definitely an upgrade. And then we experienced homelessness, but it was way different of the homelessness that I had witnessed in Colombia. Homelessness in Colombia literally meant you are families with babies are sleeping on the street and going hungry. Whereas here, we got a hotel voucher. So it was so different. I felt privileged. And, after that, just, navigating. I don't like to say overcoming. I navigated, right? Like I want to take ownership of these situations. I navigated through them. And, I always knew I wanted to bring my mom here. So that was always, I think that's why we need to make sure that we have these goals in place. Because when you take ownership of the situations, you see the things around you as your resources, and then you commit to what you're doing. And I think those are the three things for me that are so important, is really committing to something. So that was, a little bit of my childhood, and I can go on to, from there if you like.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just fascinated by it and how you've navigated through all this. Like, I can't imagine.
Yeah. So again, going back to really setting your goals, right? I wanted to bring my mom here. And that's when I went and navigated the immigration system. What did I need to do? I needed to be a US citizen. I had to be 21. And so I knew that I couldn't be, what the world expects a teen mom to be, which is a high school dropout who doesn't complete college. And I really didn't care about proving anybody wrong. I more so I cared about getting my mom here. And to do that, I had to graduate high school. I had to go to college and get my degree so that I could secure a job. And that's what I did. To me, I am a linear person. You have to do these things to get this done. There is no other plan. And so I completed my bachelor's in 3.5 years, which I'm very proud of myself for, because I had to attend summer school. I had to take classes over winter break. And then, I became a US citizen, and then exactly as I planned, I applied for my mom at the age of 21. So to me, it really is that easy. I think that when you set your goals, that is exactly what happens. I always say that there's nothing that I've really wanted that I have not gotten. If I didn't get it, it must have been because I didn't really want it. And I have different parts of I have different examples in my own life where things that I have not achieved, but I can kind of look at the situation and say, no, I didn't put in the effort, right?
Yeah.
I think that we need to acknowledge that as well. So, my mom is here now. My mom is a US citizen herself. And I think that's then when we go into I've gone through different stages in my childhood, being a teen mom, navigating the immigration system. Another thing about resourcefulness, my last semester of high school, my dad was incarcerated. So I came home, actually, when my baby was born, I came home by myself to low-income housing. My mom was in Colombia and my dad was incarcerated. But I still pushed to get to school, to get her enrolled in daycare at 3 weeks. And then my last semester of high school, however, he was incarcerated again. And I chose to go into foster care. I was pretty responsible. So I could have stayed living on my own in low income and made it the last semester, but I made a choice to use a resource. So instead of looking at, oh, my dad is not here, my mom's not here, I said, okay, what is here, right?
Yeah.
Instead of thinking of what isn't here, what is here? What is something that I can grab onto? And that's exactly what I did. So then I had a great relationship with my foster mom. I know that a lot of times foster care parents don't get the best rep, but I know that I had the best ones. And I credit a lot of my successes to them. And so going back around to, getting my mom here, and what I like to talk about is my connection. This is kind of where we go into my career, right? And before I go into that, though, I want to say, I'm super excited to be on your podcast and to connect with you. And I wanted to just make it also clear that our success is not always dependent on our careers or our professions. I've had a lot of successes. So I think other people need to understand that too. You don't have to wait to kind of cross a certain line in your profession or in your career to say, I have succeeded, right? I have succeeded in many things. But what I found in terms of my career and my profession, I did go into did intellectual property for 10 years as a paralegal. And when I was working to get my mom here, I was so excited to even get just the minimum that I needed, because it served a purpose, and it was to bring her here. Once that she came here, I didn't have that connection anymore with my job, and I didn't feel the need or the purpose. And that's when I started to get disconnected from it. I don't enjoy it as much. I couldn't stand up for myself when I saw things that I didn't feel were right. So instead, I just kind of was I'm going to go do what, fills my heart, and which is being around people that honestly had struggled like me, because I felt oh, those people I can help, right? I felt like I wasn't being valued in this legal field. So I'm going to go somewhere where I feel valued. And I did. I loved all of it. But then I started to see people were looking up to me, and these were people that were looking to be where I had just been. So that really gave me that push to just go back in and go back for what it was that, I felt, um, it was a very important skill that I offer. But this time I came back with more confidence and more for what I wanted and finding that connection again as to why am I doing it. And it's just so weird. I think from the start, I had that goal to bring my mom here, and that just there was no plan B. Whereas with work, I can say, well, I'll do IP and I could go do something else. Right. So then you don't make the goal is not as clear.
Yeah.
There is another plan. There could be a plan B, C, D, E. There's plenty of jobs out there. Like, right, this is not the only one. Whereas bringing my mom here, that was the only goal. There was no other way around. So yeah, I'd say, I went from la miseria to poverty. And I think I mentioned this to you during our intro call, that I feel wealthy. I am wealthy by my own definition. Um, I have, I mentioned, we have a new built home where my foundation is made of cement, where I was born into, where it was dirt floors. People worked very hard to even get a sack of cement. It would take them so long just to get their foundation built. So, the best part of my house is my foundation. And I love it. And so I think it's really finding what makes you wealthy, what makes you happy, what makes you successful. And I succeeded, and I have the certificate.
Yeah, you have the certificate. And this is where, your journey is so I just get chills because it's just all these different little pivotal things you've done, but there's always that drive that you've had. And
Mhm.
it's not always, I think some people get so focused on money or the title or the stability or the, how much they're going to get paid and be that, elite level.
Mhm.
And that's when they succeed. And I love how you're redefining it and you can find success in so many different ways. And two, I love, even going back to what you were saying earlier about how you kind of had, this drive of bringing your mother here. But also too, once you kind of hit that goal, it kind of was like almost a different view you got in life, where I think
Mhm.
sometimes when we hit something, we think that's like the end all. And it gave
Mhm.
you a whole different perspective that we're not always planning for. And I think that's where too, all the different things you're in your life, like you just never gave up. And you would see there was always like the end of the tunnel, there is some light there still. Like there's something that
Mhm.
kept fueling you besides getting your mother here. There's something else that was like that little fire in you that kept pushing you. And do you feel that there was something, I guess, even too, once you come to the US, it gave you a different perspective and that's kind of a fuel? I guess it.
It is. It is. It's definitely. I definitely look at things way differently. I think it was a sacrifice that was made, and so I always said, my mom didn't just send me here for nothing. Like I can't. What am I doing here? I have a purpose, and she believed in me, and she believed that there was something bigger out there for me. So she believed in me before I believed in me, and I think um, and I was just thinking about this right now, even in terms of going back to career. Maybe that is probably why I find it so important to when I'm working at an organization, like talking to the people I work with and trying to figure out their why, because I know I had a why. I had a purpose. So when I see somebody that's like down, or I just always dig not even down, I just dig. I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
look to like, and that I think is where if I had to ask myself, where do I see my thing, things going professionally, I think it is important for organizations to understand the person's why. Why is this person working here? You know what I mean? Like, what is their
Yeah.
connection to their job? Maybe it's not that they, love doing this factory work or this being a paralegal or being a secretary or being an assistant. What is their why? And I think once we can help people and just have conversations, you learn more about, what it means to them. So, I think that's just very important to kind of get that out there and encourage that with each other.
Yeah. Well, and I just think of too, you're courageous enough to talk about your story, where some
Mhm,
people would be, they don't want people to know about their past, or they want to hide and not be like embarrassed of things that maybe, they went through. And I'm proud of you for talking about the story, because not everybody realize the journey that we've all been on in life. And,
mhm,
you have a drive for your mother so much, but you also are taking care of a baby. You were in
mhm.
foster, system. You were going to school. Like, you had so many buckets that you were working on, where sometimes people think things are supposed to be handed to them. And that's where I feel that, you know, I'm proud of you for talking about your story and about your, journey to get to where you are, because hopefully some people will find some inspiration when they feel that they're in a low. It's like, really? Is that the low of the lowest? Sometimes we need to hear other stories to make us remind like how happy and thankful we should be at where we're at.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, just being able to share, and it's not just about, like, for me, being a teen mom, but that can also translate into, somebody, getting in trouble early on in their teens, and then they get counted out by society, just kinda shuns them, for having a record or for, just we're just judged in so many ways, especially as young and like, teens. And so I just, I think that we can kind of relate, somewhere along the way and really just look out for each other.
Mm. Well,
Mhm.
I love too that you have hit such a big accomplishment of getting your mother here, but this is just the start too, and this is where I'm excited to see you keep going. And I love too how you even broke it out of like some goals. Yes, that was a really big goal. There probably were some different strategies behind to get to that goal, but it was
Mhm.
never changing. And so this is where I think sometimes too, some of us that get confused is because we don't have a set why in what we
Mhm.
really want to accomplish. And so I'm really excited to see you even flourish more now too, that big goal was accomplished.
And I think with that though, I think that it's okay to also not, it's okay to say, just look back and really reflect and to say, wow, wow, if this is my life, like if this is really, this is it, I'm happy. I am truly happy. And with what I have, who I am, I can be myself. And, hopefully people like that. And if they don't, I don't know what to tell them. I think because I don't walk around really, you know, judging other people and how they are feeling. Like that's something they have to deal with. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not judging anybody. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
it.
well, I'm proud of you and all the strides that you've done, because it's inspiring. It's very courageous, and you have the drive. And this is where I'm excited to see where you go and how you keep showing up as your best self. And two, that you have this award that you get to always shine. Cause I love that someone mentioned that her and I needed to meet, but then too, you sent it even to me and I was like, and I have it on my screen right now where I love it, where it's just Miss Determined to Succeed. And so this is where
Yeah.
I hope you keep bringing it out sometimes when you have a moment of doubt. But keep shining bright. And I'm proud of all the strides that you've made and the differences that you're doing. So Thank you so much for
Thank you
joining me.
so much. I know we'll be seeing each other a lot, so thank
Yes.
you.
Well, thank you. And I hope the listeners found some insightful tips today. So thank you again.